Welcome back to the Chargers franchise and welcome to the Season 1 off-season. It is finally here. I apologize for the long delay. It's almost been 2 months since the last Chargers video, but we are finally here, and I did divide this off-season vids into parts. This is part 1. We will recap the season and the playoffs in this video. So here's how the playoff standings will look. The Browns and Texans are the 1 and the 2 in the AFC. The Broncos and Jets won the division, so they're the 3 and the 4. The Titans and Patriots are 5 and 6 as the 2 wildcard teams. The NFC is the Seahawks at the 1, the Cowboys at the 2. The Panthers and Packers have won their divisions, they're 3 and 4. And then the Eagles and Rams are the 5 and 6 in the wildcard. The season stats for the Chargers. We have a pretty good year overall. I thought offensively we were kind of balanced for the most part with yards. 30-20 year for Philip Rivers. Got to lower the interceptions. That is one of the big offseason concerns. I mainly got 3 offseason topics that I'll have to go over. I'll address that maybe next video and probably later in this one. But for now, with the season stats, overall I thought the offense played well except for the sacks and the turnovers. We got to limit those. Those are the 2 main things. And then the defense this year forced a lot of turnovers, which was a plus. Usually got a lot of sacks on the quarterback. That's a good thing. We didn't really see it till the end of the year with Joey Bosa. But the yardage definitely needs to go down. We gave up a lot of yards this year, and we gave up the most points per game in the NFL. So lots of changes are probably going to have to be made, even though we do have a limited salary cap. So maybe the team's going to stay the same for next year, but hopefully get some much needed additions if we can, or maybe some necessary cuts if we have to make this team better going forward. So the season stats overall, we have Philip Rivers as the leading passing yard leader on the year. He's got the passing yard title this season, almost 5,000 yards, 4,969. Passing touchdown leader is Baker Mayfield. Most interceptions this year was Philip Rivers with 20, the only one with 20 plus, or with only 20. Percentage completion leader was Russell Wilson among starting quarterbacks. And the most sacked quarterback this year, of course, was Philip Rivers with 70. Second place was 47, which was, I believe, Kirk Cousins. In the rushing department, the rushing title goes to Ezekiel Elliott, almost 2,000 yards this year, 1,942 yards. Rushing touchdowns this year was tied among 3 running backs, Ezekiel Elliott, Le'Veon Bell, and Saquon Barkley at 16. The fumbles this year, Philip Rivers had the most among quarterbacks with 6. Matt Breida for running backs with 5. Longest rushes by Chris Carson this year. And now we go to receiving. The receiving title goes to Michael Thomas with 1,200 plus yards this year, 1,222. And Benjamin Watson has the most catches this year, the tight end for the Patriots with 101. Touchdown leaders is tied between 2 people, Jarvis Landry and Chris Godwin, both with 12 touchdowns each this year. That led the NFL. And for the Chargers, we were among leaders in yards. Hunter Henry was 4th in the NFL for receiving yards. Touchdown-wise, more in the middle of the pack. In the blocking department, Russell Okung and DJ Humphries unfortunately get the most sacks this year with 18 each. Defensively, we had leading tackler in the year was Desmond King for the Chargers. Tackles for loss was Yannick Ngakoue. Sacks was Von Miller with 19. Interceptions was Janoris Jenkins with 7. Forced fumbles was by Levante David this year. And fumble recoveries was from Luke Kuechly. So the defenses, and our defense this year, I said we forced a lot of turnovers. That was a plus, but the yards we did give up a lot, and that mainly resulted in a lot of tackles. Defensive touchdowns among the league was pretty even. Everyone usually had 1 apiece. In the kicking department, Badgley dominated this with a lot of more field goal attempts than the second placer, Dan Bailey, and makes as well. Pretty good percentage at 87% this year. Justin Tucker led the league in percentage. Badgley led it in makes. Most block kicks this year came from Harrison Butker on field goals. Will Lutz led it for extra points, getting blocked. And then for the punting department, our punter, Tyler Newsome, led with 3,610 yards punting. And a few punts blocked as well this year. Mainly Chris Jones had 3 punts blocked for the Cowboys this year. In the return game, lots of return touchdowns, kickoff and punt return from some players this year. Now, team stats-wise, I'm going pretty quick through this here. I had to speed it up for time concerns. The Chargers were first in total yards offensively and total offensive yards, fourth in pass, the second in rushing yards, and fifth in points per game. Defensively, it's like almost either we're the last place team or first place team in most categories. We are 32nd in total yards allowed, 32nd in passing yards, 32nd in rushing yards, 32nd in points allowed, first in sacks, first in interceptions, and tied for third in fumble recoveries. So yeah, either we're one of the top teams or we're the last place bottom team in the league. Our turnover differential this year is +2, around the middle of the pack, so not completely horrible. The Cowboys led it with +13, and the Lions were last at -13 in turnover difference this year. We had the most giveaways with 28, but we had the most takeaways with 30. So we're doing one thing right, we're just not doing the other right. Now here are the players of the weeks, and mostly the pattern was most weeks we gave up a player of the week to the opposing team we played, like Philip Lindsay right there or Deontay Foreman back when we played the Texans. Even Nevin Lawson with the Raiders on Thursday night back in week 10. We did have a few player of the weeks ourselves, like Phillip Rivers, and then you got Joey Bosa right there, Justin Jackson against the Raiders, then Tyrann Mathieu right there last week when they played us. Now to the annual awards this year. Deshaun Watson leads the MVP race, and Pete Carroll and Bill O'Brien lead the Coach of the Year race right now. This is subject to change. This is not completely final yet. Offensive Player of the Year for the AFC looks like could be Deshaun Watson leading that race. Von Miller for Defensive Player of the Year. Offensive Rookie of the Year is Marquise Brown. And Defensive Rookie of the Year is our very own Chargers' Jerry Tillery. He had an excellent first season as a rookie. I would be very surprised if he actually doesn't win. Best quarterback, Baker Mayfield. Best running back, Le'Veon Bell. Best wide receiver, Jarvis Landry. The Browns do lead this department a little bit. Offensive line continues with the Browns, Joel Patino. Best defensive lineman, Joey Bosa, just ahead of Myles Garrett. Best linebacker, Von Miller. And then you got the best defensive back is the Chargers with Casey Hayward and Desmond King. And best kicker with Michael Badgley. For the NFC, Offensive Player of the Year looks like it could be Ezekiel Elliott. Defensive Player of the Year, Khalil Mack from the Chicago Bears. You also got the Offensive Rookie of the Year for the Cardinals, potentially, as Kyler Murray leads that race. The Arizona Cardinals. Sean Murphy-Bunting, Tampa Bay Buccaneers cornerback. Best quarterback is Drew Brees right now leading that race. Ezekiel Elliott for the best running back. Best receiver, Devontae Adams, along with other good ones. Best offensive lineman. A lot of Cowboys up there. Zach Martin is the best among them. Best defensive line, more Cowboys players, DeMarcus Lawrence. Best linebacker, of course, Khalil Mack leads the defensive race. Defensive Player of the Year race, so he's got to be the best linebacker. Norris Jenkins for best defense back, leads the league in interceptions with 7, and Graham Gano for best kicker in the NFC. Here are the coaching firings. We got 4. John Gruden out in Oakland, Sean Payton out of New Orleans, Mike Tomlin fired from Pittsburgh, and Mike Zimmer is out with the Minnesota Vikings. So some big coaches names out already in season 1. Here's how our season went. So pretty much started the year right. Preseason we went 1-3. 2-0 start to the year. Then we got blown up by the Texans. Had back and forth weeks for several weeks. Then middle of the season right there. That stretch really defined the season. We did not do well there. Recovered for one game. Finally snapped the skid. We dropped the next 2, but then won our final 3 games of the season. So we went very even 8-8 in our first year in this series. Now looking at everyone else, the Chiefs also went 8-8. You look at a lot of teams. The Colts did not have a very good year. They had a bad middle stretch, as you see. The Cowboys had a very good year, and actually after their bye week, they won every game except one, which ended up being a tie against the Eagles. The Dolphins had a very lackluster year. Second half of the year was very poor. For the Eagles, started off the year 1-3, didn't look great, but they were in games. And they actually ended off the year pretty strong as they're a playoff team. The Falcons were kind of all right to start the year, but then end of the year, they just really tanked. And then the Niners. The Niners have some very piss-poor games. They didn't really do that well. The Giants are the only team this year to go 10-6 and not make the playoffs. They had a really good year, but the NFC was really competitive, so that's how they missed out. The Jaguars started off the year great, then kind of skidded in the middle, then had a nice little stretch right there with us included in a win. but then just kind of missed out on the playoffs because of the midseason stretch. The Jets had a really good year, and they had a really good midseason. Kind of ended off the year a little poor, but overall, they still made the playoffs and won the AFC East. The Lions are pretty typical Lions. They did not make the playoffs and had not such a great record. The Packers kind of underperformed this year, but still made the playoffs at 9-7 and winning the NFC North. The Carolina Panthers had a pretty solid year as they made the playoffs and winning the NFC South. The New England Patriots started the year really bad. They had a bad middle season. They were 4-8 and won, or actually no, 3-8 and won their last 5, and made the playoffs at 8-8, clinching the last spot in the AFC. The Raiders had a pretty bad year. They were a pretty bad start and a pretty bad end. Better middle. They went 4-12 this year. The Rams actually had a pretty solid year. A lot of inconsistency, but still made the playoffs. The Ravens started off the year great, but then the second half of the season was not the same story. The Redskins, just not really their year, but they actually went 8-8. So pretty good stretch, even though there was some the first half wasn't strong. The Saints, a pretty interesting season, but they didn't finish off the right way. The Seahawks started off the year amazing. They were doing really good and actually have one of the best records in the NFL, tied with the Browns 13-3. The Steelers started the year off poorly and kind of did better the second half, but not enough to rebound for the playoffs. The Houston Texans started the year off 0-2 and then won just so many games straight. They won 9 games straight, and they're the second seed in the playoffs. Same kind of story with the Titans, 1-4 to start the year, but then once they beat us, they went on a win streak and they never looked back and looked better. Made the playoffs because of it. The Vikings had a very underperforming year and actually more disappointing. They did really bad this year. The Chicago Bears, now this is a big story. 7-0 start to the season. They looked like Super Bowl contenders potentially by the time they played us and beat us. But since that game, they've lost so many games. They went 2-7 the last 9, and they end up missing the playoffs. That's incredible. The Bengals didn't have a great year. Not really surprised from Cincinnati standards. The Bills started off mediocre to begin the year. Middle stretch again was really just not good. The middle stretch for everyone was really the defining part of this season. The Broncos started off the year great, had a little bit tough sledding in the middle, but then the end kind of finished strong. And then the Browns started off the year 5-0, lost to the Seahawks, who were a good team, but never kept the winning streaks going and never really lost consecutive games in a row. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they had a pretty bad year. Let's just say that, as they went 0-10 before they won their first game, finishing out the year 3-13. The Arizona Cardinals also kind of had a similar story. They beat the Buccaneers for their first win. They were, I believe, 0-9 before they got the win. Now we head to the playoffs, the wild card weekend. Finally, we're here. The Patriots and Broncos, Rams, Panthers, Titans, Jets, and you got the Eagles and the Packers. So here are the results. We skim to next week. The Patriots beat the Broncos. That's the first game up on the list, 26-18. As the Broncos can't get it done at home in Wild Card Weekend, the Patriots keep up their forward momentum going into the divisional round. Good game from Tom Brady, as it's a 26-18 win for the Patriots. Julian Edelman had a nice game. Benjamin Watson did pretty well. Joe Flacco did not do bad for the Broncos, as he found Cortland Sutton and Jake Butt for a pair of touchdowns. And then you also have Rhett Ellison with a touchdown reception from Brady. Sack-wise, Denver gave up several sacks in this game. And that's probably not maybe the reason why, but the Patriots, what could be a factor. Patriots did play some pretty solid offense. And then turnovers-wise, not really much. Kind of amazing. So this is kind of a very mostly clean game. It's just that the Patriots came out on top. So that's how this game looks for the first wild card game of this series. So the 6 seed beating the 3 seed. Now to the NFC, we have a pretty good offensive shootout between the Rams and the Panthers, where the Panthers come out on top. Jared Goff had an excellent game, and so did Todd Gurley, but it was not enough. The Rams defense kind of sold at the end of the day. The Panthers will be moving on to the divisional round, as Cam Newton had a pretty good performance, 2 rushing touchdowns along with 2 passing touchdowns. Cooper Kupp with 2 touchdown receptions. Todd Gurley had 2 catches, 109 yards, and a receiving touchdown to add to his stat line. Sacks-wise, more for Carolina, a little bit for the Rams as well. Couple picks thrown, one from each team. But yeah, offense was definitely the big factor in this game. Defense, just looks like the Panthers just played slightly better defensively. Field goal kicking was a little sloppy, as you can see, 1 miss each for both kickers. And so yeah, the Panthers get the win at home over the Rams. The 4 and the 5. So the 4 takes down the 5 seed, 38-35. And now we head on to the next game right after we get through the stats, and we have an upset. Once again, the 5 seed takes down the 4 seed as the Tennessee Titans go into the Big Apple and upset the New York Jets. The Jets had a pretty great year, a very surprisingly great year, but they couldn't get it done. Marcus Mariota with some heroics for the Tennessee Titans as they keep up their momentum going into the divisional round. So big game for Marcus Mariota. Sam Darnold did pretty solid through the air as the Titans had to go to overtime to win this, 34-28. So definitely a very exciting game. A lot of great games here on Wildcard Weekend through the first 3. And defensively, not real. Jets had some success on sacks with Leonard Williams with 2. 1 interception, Wesley Woodyard must have intercepted Darnold 1 time in this game. And so yeah, pretty good overall stat line from the offenses. Defenses, kind of one similar story like the Rams and Panthers. Not really much defense, maybe a slightly better, but nice little overtime wildcard game. Very exciting to see that happen. So now we got the Titans moving on, and so now the AFC will look like this. The Browns will take on the 6-seeded Patriots, and the Texans will take on their AFC South foe, the Tennessee Titans, as the 5-seed Titans take on the 2-seed Texans. Now the final wildcard game turned out to be probably the worst one out of all of them, even though it wasn't that bad. A 21-7 win for the Green Bay Packers at home against the Philadelphia Eagles. The 4-seeded Packers take down the 5-seeded Eagles. The Eagles had a great year, but the Cowboys were a lot better, so that's why they won the division. So the Philadelphia had to go on the road for the wildcard weekend. Packers had a very mediocre season, but they got it done in this game. Maybe just a couple unlucky coincidence happens throughout the season, you know. So yeah. So now for the NFC, it is the 4-seeded Packers. They will take on the 1-seed. I'm trying to remember who it was. The Seahawks. So the Packers will take on the Seahawks next round, and then you got the Panthers, 3-seed, taking on the 2-seeded Cowboys. No upsets in the NFC. All the home teams won. The only upsets were in the AFC, where the Broncos and Jets couldn't get it done at their home stadium. So yeah, pretty interesting playoffs so far. A lot of close games, like to see that. See what happens next round in the divisional. Should be very intriguing to see. And players of the week for the wild card weekend. Todd Gurley and Corey Littleton for the Rams in a losing effort. Did pretty well. Marcus Mariota for the Titans and Leonard Williams for the Jets. Now the divisional round. The Patriots will take on the Browns, Packers at the Seahawks, Titans at Texans, and Panthers at the Cowboys, just like I said. And now let's sim right into divisional weekend, or right past divisional weekend, see what the results are. But first up, I want to just give you guys just a quick note for thought. We do have our running backs returned from injury, as we had a pretty rough stretch at the end where most of our running backs got hurt, pretty much all of them actually. So now let's get to the divisional results. The Cleveland Browns and the New England Patriots run. So Tom Brady will not be repeating. Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, I should say, will not be repeating for back-to-back Super Bowl championships. The Cleveland Browns are heading to the AFC Championship game and keep the dream season alive. 31-28 win over the Patriots. Very good game for the Browns. All rushing touchdowns in this game for the Browns. All 4 touchdowns came on the ground and by one individual. Baker Mayfield had one, Duke Johnson, Kareem Hunt, and Nick Chubb, all with each 1 rushing touchdown in this game. So very diverse on the running game and very good backfield the Browns have. Definitely probably one of the best in the NFL, if not the best, the way this team is playing. Myles Garrett and Larry Ogunjobi got 1 sack each on Tom Brady, and you got some picks right here as well. from each. I'm pretty sure from each team, if I saw that correctly. Yeah, but the Browns get a big win at home, and they will be hosting the AFC Championship. So the Patriots are out of the playoffs. They will await the winner of the Texans and the Titans. We'll see that in just a moment. Next up is the Packers taking down the Seahawks in Seattle, an upset. Aaron Rodgers throwing for 4 touchdowns in this game. Great performance from Aaron Rodgers in a 35-17 victory. The Seahawks are eliminated from the playoffs, so the Packers will head to the NFC Championship game as the 4 seed. So can they get it done? That's the big question. The Packers have looked pretty good so far in this playoffs. They decimated the Eagles and now dismantled the Seahawks. 2 pretty strong teams, both in double-digit wins this year. Green Bay got to Russell Wilson pretty much with ease a lot in this game. Got several sacks. And then turnovers-wise, just not very many like usual, like we've seen so far. So for the NFC, the Packers will wait the winner of the Panthers and the Cowboys in Dallas. We'll see that in just a moment as well. But first up, let's see the Titans and the Texans. And the Titans keep up the dream run as the Texans are eliminated and upsetted in the playoffs. Deshaun Watson throwing 2 costly interceptions, but 3 touchdowns. But the difference for Tennessee was Derrick Henry with 3 rushing touchdowns. So that is the difference for the Titans. The Tennessee Titans heading to the AFC Championship game. Kind of a mirror image to real life. You know, this is the Super Bowl 54 season, just like they made the AFC Championship in real life that year. But can they go farther? Only this time it's Marcus Mariota at quarterback and not Ryan Tannehill. Very interesting to note there. Tennessee got some sacks on Deshaun Watson, only 1 on Mariota. Turnover-wise, how about 2 interceptions alone for Adoree Jackson on Watson? So he was a big player in this game. So yeah, we have a Titans-Browns AFC Championship in Cleveland. That will be interesting to see. We'll see that later in the video. And then the final divisional round game is the Panthers at the Cowboys, and Carolina takes down Dallas on the road. And Cam Newton playing strong along with Christian McCaffrey as the Cowboys can't get it done in Jerry's world. So yeah, big win for the Panthers. A lower scoring game, 17-14. Very mediocre performances from both, but Cam Newton just outdueled Dak Prescott by a little more. Sack-wise, Dallas had actually all the sacks in this game pretty much on Cam Newton. Defensively, not much happened, but now we will see the Carolina Panthers in the NFC Championship game once again, first time since Super Bowl 50 season, and they will take on the Green Bay Packers in Carolina, or in Charlotte. Now the players of the week, Aaron Rodgers, Shaquille Griffin, or is that Shaquille? I think it's Shaquille Griffin. And then Tom Brady and Adoree Jackson for the AFC. And now we got the Conference Championship week. Titans at the Browns and Packers at the Panthers. So now we will actually wait before simming. And actually, I just wanted to tell you guys that we got a staff hiring. I made an offer to trainer Nick Garrett before I simmed. So that was available to do. And now we sim past AFC Championship week. I got something to note. Justin Jackson's back from injury. And we did sign that new trainer, Nick Garrett. So that's some good news. And here are the results. The AFC Championship. The Cleveland Browns are heading to their first ever Super Bowl in franchise history. They take down the Titans as the Titans' Cinderella run comes to an end for this season. Really good game from both sides. Both teams fought very competitively. Marcus Mariota, Baker Mayfield dueled. Good game from Kareem Hunt in this one for the Cleveland Browns. Sack-wise, Cleveland got to Mariota with ease. They had a total of 7 sacks. Okay, so that's not going to be winning football right there. Myles Garrett even had an interception in this one. That's pretty crazy to think. So yeah, the Titans lose 19-27. The Browns get a nice victory. They will head to the Super Bowl. Cleveland fans must be very happy about that. Well, I mean, they definitely are happy about that. And so yeah. That's how the AFC Championship will play out. And now, who will they wait in the Super Bowl? And it will be the Carolina Panthers as they take down the Packers. Packers try to make a fourth quarter comeback. It didn't work. It wasn't enough, though. Cam Newton with 3 touchdown passes. The Panthers get the victory, and they're heading back to Super Bowl. For the first time since Super Bowl 50, they will head to Super Bowl 54 and take on the Cleveland Browns. So the 3-seeded Panthers take down the 4-seeded Packers in the NFC Championship. And then the AFC was the 1-seeded Browns against the 5-seeded Titans. So we'll have a 3 versus 1 in the Super Bowl. 3-seeded Panthers and the 1-seeded Browns. Pretty overall good game. The Panthers got control early and they just locked it down until the fourth quarter when Aaron Rodgers tried to work some magic at the end. But it looks like maybe a potential 2-point conversion to tie the game ended up failing. So that's why they end up losing by 2. And Mason Crosby missed a field goal. Maybe that played a big impact on the game. Potentially could have given them a 1-point win or lead right there at the end if they got that. So here are the players of the week. Cam Newton and Kawan Short for the Panthers in the NFC. The AFC is Kareem Hunt with 2 rushing touchdowns, and Myles Garrett had a big game against Marcus Mariota. Here's the news, and it looks like a bunch of people are just really wondering how the hell did we get to a Panthers-Browns Super Bowl? I don't know. But that is the Season 1 Super Bowl. The Carolina Panthers will take on the Cleveland Browns. And before we get into that, we are in Pro Bowl week, so I wanted to show you the Pro Bowlers for this season. We got Deshaun Watson, Sam Darnold's on that list as well. Melvin Gordon for the Chargers, Derek Watt made it on that list. So I'm just going to note the Charger players and some other ones. Quincy Enunwa from the Jets, that's an interesting one. Hunter Henry for the Chargers makes it on the list. No offensive line for the Chargers. What a surprise. I'm completely in shock. Joey Bosa has made it on the list. Jerry Tillery, the rookie, in his rookie season, getting to the Pro Bowl. And then you got Desmond King for the AFC. No Casey Hayward Jr., by the way. Matthias Farley from the Colts, that's a good pickup. Justin Reed from the Texans, some safeties really surprising. Michael Badgley and Tyler Newsome, our kicker and punter, make the Pro Bowl. Here's the Pro Bowl results. The NFC takes down the AFC 23-13, kind of a low-scoring game in the Pro Bowl. It's not like the NBA All-Star game where you're going to expect a shit ton of scoring, but pretty overall competitive game. And actually, there was a lot of sacks in this game. Also, a 100-yard pick six from Rodney McLeod Jr., the Eagles defensive back. And now we got a big signing I got a note from this week. It is Mike Tomlin signing with the Minnesota Vikings as the new head coach. Now the annual awards. Deshaun Watson is MVP. Coach of the Year is Bill O'Brien. Even though Pete Carroll's number 1 on the list, it said on the news it's Bill O'Brien. I'll show you guys later. And then AFC Offensive Player of the Year, Deshaun Watson. Defense Player, Von Miller. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Marquise Brown. Defense Rookie of the Year, Jerry Tillery for the Chargers. Baker Mayfield, Best Quarterback. Best Running Back, Le'Veon Bell. Jarvis Landry, Best Receiver. Best Lineman, Joel Patino. Joey Bosa, Best Defensive Line. Best Linebacker, Von Miller. Casey Hayward Jr. wins Best Defensive Back over Desmond King. And he didn't even get in the Pro Bowl. Best Kicker, Michael Badgley. Now for the NFC, Ezekiel Elliott, Offensive Player of the Year. Khalil Mack, Defensive Player of the Year. Kyler Murray, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Sean Murphy Bunting is Defensive Rookie of the Year. Drew Brees, Best Quarterback. Ezekiel Elliott, Best Running Back. Best Receiver, Devontae Adams. Best Offensive Lineman, Zach Martin. Best Defensive Lineman, DeMarcus Lawrence. Best Linebacker, Khalil Mack. Janoris Jenkins for Best Defensive Back. And Graham Gano for Best Kicker in the NFC. Now here's some upgrades that I end up getting through the offseason, or mainly for this week. Jerry Tillery and Michael Badgley getting some much-needed upgrades because of their Pro Bowl game. They end up getting some game experience, so for some more awards. And as you see on the news right there, I still find it funny that Bill O'Brien won Coach of the Year, but he is Coach of the Year. So now we sim to Super Bowl week, and we find out the winner. It is the Cleveland Browns over the Carolina Panthers. The Browns have won their first Super Bowl in franchise history in their first ever appearance. Wow. Over the Carolina Panthers, and the Panthers still in more depression, and now even in more depression as they lose to the Browns in the Super Bowl, and they can't get it done. They're still left with 0 Super Bowls. The Browns fans, though, can rejoice and celebrate they have their first Super Bowl in franchise history. Pretty good game from Baker Mayfield, 2 touchdown passes. For Cam Newton, not a bad game either. Kareem Hunt with 2 touchdown runs. I think he's MVP because Super Bowl MVP in this game because he had 16 carries, 138 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. I think that should be enough to get him over Baker Mayfield. definitely that run game was a difference for the Browns. You know, that running back core played solid all season, and it pays dividends here in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl, getting their first franchise Super Bowl title. Defensively, pretty just just pretty laid back game, and pretty much offensive and defensive sides pretty even. Browns get a 28-21 win. No field goals in this game. I don't know why Graham Gano's not on the box score. Maybe they cut him or something. I guess that's how it worked. But yeah, because that must be a glitch. It must be a glitch if that happened. But yeah, no field goals, all touchdowns in this game. And Browns just get enough to win it, 28-21. And look at that, even the news is in shock. Cleveland rocks the Browns. How did they win? And also some retirements, some surprises and some not so surprising. Danny Amendola retires, as you see. Even Adam Vinatieri, the kicker, moves on. Eli Manning has retired, and you can see on the bottom left right there, Chargers legendary tight end Antonio Gates is retiring. Jason Witten is retiring as well. Cameron Wake also going to retire. You'll see it on a news list later. Most popular jersey this year is Odell Beckham. And Freddie Kitchens, his first year with the Browns. I'm pretty sure it's his first year, right? If not, it's his second year. But first few seasons with the team, or first season with the team, he's already got a Super Bowl on his resume. That cannot be said by very many coaches, or maybe just very many coaches in NFL history. I'll say that. Deshaun Watson, of course, was MVP. I told you guys about that. And then look at that, Bill O'Brien, Coach of the Year. So yeah, that's why I told you from earlier. I thought it was on the other news story, but it isn't. It's kind of rushed through, but this one's more easier to read, so that's why I can tell. Here are the retirements. Some key ones I already just noted. Other ones I could say Benjamin Watson retires. Jason Peters. We also got Roman Foster from the Steelers. Adrian Peterson from the Redskins is retiring for good. We also got Brandon Carr, Richie Incognito. I already talked about Amendola and Manning. Joe Stanley retires, or Staley. Matt Schaub retires as well. And then some free agents, or just younger players. Marcus Hunt retires. And then we have some more Chargers retiring. Actually, 3 Charger players retire this offseason. Antoine Bethea, I already talked about Antonio Gates, and Thomas Davis. All retire from the NFL. Their careers are done. They've had long careers. It's time for them definitely to head into retirement and enjoy it. Also got some kickers like Phil Dawson. Terrell Suggs retires as well. So yeah, definitely some notable names retiring after season 1. There's Larry Fitzgerald retiring as well from the Cardinals. Donald Penn, a pretty good offensive tackle, retiring. I'm pretty sure if they don't have, I'm pretty sure they're free agents because they don't have a team right behind them. So let's see if anyone else kind of sticks out. Mike Nugent, kicker. Eric Walden retires. John Ryan, the former Seahawks punter, is retiring. And there were some coaching hires right there on the bottom. Sean Payton to the Chiefs. Andy Reid ended up retiring, by the way. So that's where Sean Payton takes over for the Chiefs. We're going to be seeing him twice a year. So from one great coach to another, it doesn't change for Kansas City. Demetrius Turner looks like an auto-generated coach, signs with the Saints. And so, yeah, that pretty much sums up some new coaching hires. We already talked about Mike Tomlin to the Vikings. Don't really know what the other 2 are up to, which I believe is the Raiders and the Steelers. Also made a coaching hire as well. Those 2 signed, I believe, auto-generated coaches. The Steelers got Thomas Pita, and the Raiders got Kevin Irvin. So that leaves Mike Zimmer and John Gruden out of jobs. We'll maybe see them next season, not season 2, but maybe season 3, getting hired by other teams who fire their coaches. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you have not already. And I will see you guys in part 2 for tomorrow of this offseason. We'll cover free agency, the draft, and a preseason practice. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.